Welcome to the 5th module of our Family Caregiving 101 series. My name is Mark Peterson, founder of the Wyoming Family Caregiving Foundation. Last session, we focused on brokering, getting things done for your loved one through those outside your network of family and friends. In this session, we will focus on relationships in family caregiving. Physicians often appreciate caregivers who can provide accurate health histories, ensure medication adherence, and monitor symptoms between visits. Caregivers are seen as instrumental in advocating for patient needs, especially when patients can't speak for themselves. Caregivers help implement care plans, transport patients to appointments, and serve as emotional support, all of which improve patient outcomes. In the video in our series on brokering, we considered how physicians regard working with family caregivers. Many medical professionals learn that caregiver involvement in patient care is often inconsistent. Some are engaged and informed, while others are passive or misinformed. This complicates treatment. Patient needs also vary, and care may occur in high-stress clinical settings where physicians are dealing with critically ill patients. Communication barriers can arise as physicians try to balance HIPAA privacy rules with family involvement, leaving caregivers unsure of their roles. Although many physicians are empathetic, they may not have the resources to support caregiver stress or offer referrals. Time constraints further limit in-depth engagement with caregivers unless absolutely necessary. A physician consultation with a patient typically begins with the physician asking the patient something like, "What concerns you today?" or "How are you doing?" Research suggests that physicians are able to listen to patient stories for a median of about 20 seconds before interrupting in some fashion. Patients often would like to share the context for what they are sharing with the physician, and they often have multiple concerns or issues to share with the physician. Physicians would do better to listen longer and let the patient share the context and other concerns or issues they have. Patients and caregivers might communicate better by beginning, "I have 3 issues to share today, and I need to explain the context for these." By doing this, the physician would know multiple issues will be shared as well as the context. In other words, the physician will know more is coming than just one issue. In sum, when asked how you are doing, remind your loved one to first describe what will be shared, such as 3 issues and the context for these, rather than just describing symptoms related to one medical issue. When thinking about your loved one's disease, physicians regularly dive down to a level for which they received education and medical training, such as the level of blood chemistry or DNA markers. If you or your loved one ask about what is happening with the chronic disease your loved one is fighting in their body, you might receive an explanation about blood chemistry or DNA markers. I found that the best question to ask your loved one's physician later in a session is, "What would you do if you were in this same situation as my loved one?" This reorients your loved one and the physician to meaningful steps your loved one can take now and in the future. Nurses provide care for your loved one in hospitals and clinics, but also in your home should you have in-home nursing services prescribed by your doctor. The essence of nursing is care. This means you will likely have someone with a heart who is attuned to your loved one's holistic well-being, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. To get the job done for your loved one in a hospital or clinic, nurses spend more time with your loved one taking vital signs such as body temperature, heart and breathing rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation in the blood, and pain level. Nurses do a variety of tasks in medical care, such as also administering shots, medications, and helping your loved one with activities of daily living, including toileting and transfers in and out of bed. Because they have to work around your loved one for a time, we found our favorite question for these nurses was, "Where's your hometown?" Time and again, we found that we had actually visited this hometown, knew someone from this hometown, or could then ask, "How did you wind up here?" In short, these questions allowed us to understand some of the history and context for these nurses. They became real people to us. It felt like we had a friend attending in our room after such an exchange. This photo is of Nikki, a physician's assistant working in Laramie, and my late wife, Cindy. I took it while Cindy made a routine visit to Cindy's primary care physician for vaccination during Cindy's cancer battle. Nikki worked there at this doctor's office. You can see that Nikki is very skilled at communicating interest and engagement with Cindy. Nikki has both hands on Cindy's arm and is looking into her eyes. Nikki is showing Cindy a photo of her son who used to take piano lessons from Cindy before Cindy's diagnosis, after which Cindy had to give up piano teaching. The point here is that Nikki knows how to communicate in a multimodal way. She does it through two-handed touch, her voice, with her eyes, and with photos. The effect was an uplifting one for Cindy. During your own care for your loved one, you might be doing what seems like 1,000 tasks on or near your loved one during one day. Remember to spice that series of tasks with some affection so that you don't lapse into robotic actions on or near your loved one. They won't like it. You can see it here in how Nikki interacts with Cindy in a multimodal way with touch, eye-to-eye contact, with pictures, and with your voice. You do the same. One of the issues for you and your loved one is how private do you want your loved one's illness battle to be? Total isolation could be chosen. Open transparency could be chosen, or a mix of both privacy and transparency. We chose to be very transparent regarding Cindy's cancer battle. We did this for two reasons. One, to encourage others who might be facing a similar battle, and two, to benefit from someone out there letting us know of some important development in cancer treatment that they might find out about. Soon after Cindy's diagnosis, a professional colleague at another university let us know about someone working in the marketing department at the Rawls School of Business at Texas Tech who had battled Cindy's brain cancer for 3 years. Our emails and phone conversation with this new friend helped orient Cindy to what a cancer battle might entail and to resources available to learn more about emerging treatments for such a brain tumor. Here you can see friends who joined a meal train, www.mealtrain.com, to deliver a meal at our home. Meal Train is for those supporting a friend or family member after birth, surgery, or illness. An organizer of the Meal Train can set up a schedule for volunteers to deliver a meal to a friend's or family member's home. We asked the Meal Train organizer from our church, Emmaus Road Community Church in Laramie, Wyoming, to have meals delivered for 4 people, Cindy, me, and daughter Rachel and her husband James, on Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. and Thursday evening at 5:30 p.m. There were usually leftovers which covered us for a meal on the day following each Meal Train delivery. We enjoyed greeting our meal elves on those nights. On occasion, some, like June and Kenny Zhang here, would go over the top in meal preparation. This can be seen in the Mardi Gras-themed meal we received in February. Such an extra effort lifted our spirits at a much-needed time. Each night when we dined on a Meal Train delivered meal, I would photograph our team enjoying what was delivered that evening. If Cindy was available, I would photograph the meal deliverers, such as our pastor Jason Ricks with his wife Heather and Cindy. I would then text this photo with a message of thanks to the person who had delivered the meal in order to let them know how much their thoughtfulness for us was appreciated. Later that week, I would send a thank you note through the mail. I wanted to keep our small army of friends motivated and moving with us on our journey. Family members such as Cindy's sister Jenny and her husband John from California made a visit that meant much to us. Also, Cindy's tennis friends came by and sang some songs with Cindy that encouraged Cindy very much. If we hadn't chosen to be transparent with others and share photos and updates twice each month on the Caring Bridge website, Cindy would not have received such well-prepared food and loving reinforcement. Once during a winter weekend during Cindy's cancer battle, the thought came to me that this would be a superb day to go cross-country skiing. Then I remembered that I was Cindy's caregiver. What would we do if I suffered a knee injury during this cross-country ski outing? I knew such risky pursuits could not be done as a family caregiver for Cindy. Later in Cindy's cancer battle, I visited the chiropractor for a lower back issue. I told the chiropractor, I need to stay in the game as a caregiver. Please do an adjustment on my back so that I can. I need to stay in the game. I felt like a professional athlete who doesn't want to leave his team in a big contest. Keep me in the game. As previously discussed, the Hoyer lift we had purchased served as insurance for me as a functional caregiver. If you are caring for a loved one larger than you, then a Hoyer lift might be more than insurance and, in fact, an essential tool for you to lift your loved one and make transfers in your home. But the question arises, how do you do heavy lifting in your home, and who is your backup if you should be taken out of your caregiving role, even temporarily? My team, photographed here in January 2021, was composed of my 2 daughters, Angela and Rachel, and their 2 husbands, Brock and James. During Cindy's last month, Rachel and James came down with COVID-19 and were out of action for a week. This meant I was on my own as a caregiver with Cindy. I took things very carefully that week, but it turned out to be a blessing. Cindy and me alone together for a week. To me, staying in reasonable physical shape was essential for reducing stress, as well as preparing for a time that might suddenly be upon us when I would need to surge for 2 weeks as Cindy's caregiver in a hospital setting or some other place, if her condition took a turn for the worse. I usually did my fitness training on an elliptical trainer in our basement after Cindy had been put to bed. I did many pull-ups during these workouts because it took about all the strength I had to make transfers with Cindy in a way that was smooth for her. As a family caregiver, you will likely encounter much less discretionary time in your week, but whatever respite you need to keep yourself in the game will need to be done. Family caregiving is an enterprise, and leadership is an important dimension of seeing your enterprise succeed. For those who extended a courtesy to our family during Cindy's cancer battle, such as delivering a meal or sending flowers, I would send a thank you note. To me, it was part of fighting cancer. I usually spent the mornings doing cancer-related assembling or brokering tasks. I wanted to pay it forward so that our family did not become endless takers of generosity, but givers of thanks to those who cared enough to come through for us in a small way. Over time, I would include a $5 Starbucks gift card in those thank you notes. You can still find $5 Starbucks cards on Amazon.com. The next time these good folks thought about helping someone, I wanted them to give an enthusiastic yes to themselves. Looking back on it, I was also reinforcing a small army of friends in town who were my backups. Sometime in the early months of Cindy's cancer battle, I found myself alone in the study of my home. And thinking of all the challenges before us and the possible stresses on the family, it all appeared so daunting. Then my thoughts turned and I realized it doesn't have to get worse. It can become better and your family stronger. This might have been as close to hearing the voice of God I have come. But the new thought calmed me, and I remembered this juncture many times in the months ahead as I did see relationships become stronger in ways I had not imagined previously. Please join us for the next video in our series about learning that family caregivers do with those outside of the network of family and friends. This video and other resources to help you become a more effective family caregiver can be found at wildfamilycaregiving.com. That's www.wildfamilycaregiving.com. Thank you.